I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. Before Abraham was, I am. And hear it not as ancient thunder, but as present whisper. I in the midst of you am mighty. Let that be our foundation stone. Let that be the bell that calls us to prayer. Not to speak, but to behold. Not to inform, but to awaken. Not to ask, but to enter. Now, this may startle you, and it is meant to kindly, lovingly, the way a mother lifts a sleeping child to the window to see the morning. Prayer, as you have known it, stops tonight. Yes, that habit of telling God, pleading with God, persuading God, imagining that the infinite needs your report and your reasons that ceases. Stop asking. Start beholding. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. Well, then, the mind says, what do? Nothing of the old way. Prayer is not informing omniscience of conditions it already knows not, for God knoweth only itself wholeness, holiness, harmony. Prayer is not moving a reluctant deity. It is consenting to an ever-present love. Prayer is entering the presence that already is, the presence that cannot leave you nor fail you. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Could you just now, quietly, without strain, say the word I, softly? I. Not your name, not your history, not yesterday's burdens, just I. Before the name, before the birth certificate, before Abraham you find I. That I is nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing. That I is the presence. That I is the life of your life. That I, in the midst of you, is mighty. Do you see how the whole structure of prayer must be reversed? We have lived as if God were over there and we here, He reluctant, we persuasive, He withholding, we convincing. No, God the only power. Only power. Not power to be convinced, not power to be purchased with words. Is, God, God, God. When you turn to pray, you are not entering an interview, you are stepping into isness. You are letting go of the picture and yielding to presence. Take no thought for your life, said the Master. He did not invite anxiety to the altar. He invited awareness. In this sacred awareness, nothing is added to God and nothing is subtracted from you. You do not walk into a courtroom to argue. You sit by still waters. You do not draft a plea. You awaken to a presence that, like the sun through a window, does not need our permission to shine, but does require an open shade. Beholding is the lifting of the shade. Listening is the consent of the soul. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. This reversal holds a great promise. When prayer ceases to be a verbal press release to the infinite and becomes entry into the infinite itself, fear subsides. You begin to feel the everlasting arms underneath. You find the presence closer than the problem, more actual than appearances, more faithful than the clock. And with that sense of safety dawns a holy curiosity. If I do not ask, what shall I do? We shall answer that together as we go, moving from redefinition to practice, from practice to silent consent, from consent to seeing through appearances, from seeing to the quiet proofs of grace, until beholding becomes your daily rule and worry has no home. But just here, at the door, pause, breathe without trying, rest the mind without pushing, no agenda, no results in view. The presence is not summoned, it is recognized. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. That is the altar. Enter it, and prayer is no longer words, it is awareness. And in that awareness we begin. Now, because we have stepped to the door and felt that quiet, let us look lovingly at the habit we have carried up to that door, the habit of pleading. Do not be harsh with yourself. We all learn to pray the way children learn to shout across a field, hoping someone will hear. We thought God was at a distance, and so our voices rose. We thought the line was busy, and so we repeated the message. We thought the infinite needed convincing, and so we assembled arguments and deadlines as though heaven ran on our calendar. And every time the lips pleaded, the heart quietly confessed, I am separate, I am needy, I am afraid. Do you see? Every plea is a little creed of lack. Take no thought for your life, said the Master. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. If the Father knoweth, what is the function of telling? Well, can I tell God then of my need? No. God is not an absent listener gathering data on your condition. God is the knowing itself. Omniscience does not receive knowledge, it is knowledge. When you say, Father, here is my lack, you are unknowingly inviting your own mind to gaze at lack, to rehearse it, to polish it, and then to enshrine it in holy words. And words repeated with feeling become images. And images, held long enough, become the mist that seems to stand between you and the sun. Be careful for nothing, wrote the apostle, not because needs are ignored, but because there is a law of the Spirit that meets need by grace, not by anxious invention. Let me smile with you for a moment. How many times have we sent God a shopping list? One page for the body, one for the bank, one for the children, and signed it, urgent. As if the eternal were an overnight courier and we the superintendent of results. Oh, I have done it too. And then, when the package did not arrive by the morning post, we prepared a second letter, more eloquent. Beloved, it is all so human, and it is all so unnecessary. He performeth that which is given me to do. Who performeth? He. Not we by multiplied words, not we by strained believing. He, the presence that is closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. What, then, is wrong with pleading? Nothing morally wrong, only ineffective spiritually, because it presupposes two where there is, one a distance where there is indivisibility. Pleading speaks in the language of appetite and fear. It says, I must have. Listening speaks in the tongue of trust. It says, thou art. Pleading strains the eyes toward a horizon where help may appear. Listening discovers a river within, already moving. Pleading is the clamor of a boatman in a fog. Listening is the lifting of the fog, and then you see that the shore was here all along. Try this kindness with yourself. When the impulse to beg rises, nod to it as an old acquaintance and let it pass. Do not argue. Do not dress it up as faith. Let the lips grow quiet, and let the heart take the posture of Samuel. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Do you feel the difference? One stance attempts to move God, the other consents to be moved by God. One stance orders the hour, the other enters eternity where timing is God's. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Not by might, nor by power, nor by eloquence, but by my Spirit. A woman once said to me, I prayed all night for rent. I asked, and who answered? She blinked. We both laughed gently. She had sent a telegram at 2 a.m, but she had not waited by the receiver. The miracle was not withheld. The line was simply filled with her own voice. When she set the lips down and took the listening up, when she ceased rehearsing the figure and began beholding the presence, a way opened that had been there all week, and she saw it in the morning light. Grace did not come. Grace was recognized, so let us make room. Every time we put a plea into the silence, we place a small piece of furniture in a room meant for a guest. Empty the room. The guest is already at the door. Never try to inform omniscience. Never try to persuade love. Enter the room with nothing in your hands, nothing on your tongue, and a listening heart. As asking recedes, hearing awakes. As hearing awakes, the eye within announces itself. And from that announcement, life will arrange itself by grace. We are only preparing the ear now, that in our next breath we may know who speaks within the silence. I, in the midst of thee, am mighty. Be still, beloved, and let the might speak. Now that the room is empty of our pleas, let us ask gently, who abides in this room when we do not speak? Listen. The answer arrives not as a stranger knocking, but as a whisper from within your own depths. I. Could you say it softly with me, without any description following, without a surname, without a circumstance attached, just I. Again, I. Before your name, I. Before your first breath, I. Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not. Hear it in the only tense. God knows the now. I that formed thee from the womb am here. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. This is the reversal more radical than ceasing to ask. Discovering that the one to whom you thought you were speaking is the one speaking as you. Not the human personality that orders coffee and keeps appointments, not that mask, the I behind the mask, the life of that life, the awareness itself. Before Abraham was, I am. In him we live and move and have our being. The kingdom of God is within you. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? Nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing, the I in the midst of you is mighty. We have imagined a distant deity somewhere beyond the horizon, requiring messages and rituals to bridge the gap. Beloved, there is no gap to bridge. God, the only power, only power. The I is not over there. The I is your very consciousness, your capacity to know, to love, to be moved. When you say I, you are sounding the name by which God identifies God in you. I am that I am. It is not a statement of personal pride. It is the confession of presence. Prayer, therefore, is not a voice raised to the ceiling. It is a soul consenting to the I that is already here. Place a hand lightly upon your heart now, not to locate a muscle, but to acknowledge a sanctuary. Feel the quiet there. Do not search for a sign. No striving. Simply say, within once more, I. And allow the mind to rest in that syllable until it is no longer a word you utter, but a presence that utters you. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Not the clever mind, not the strenuous will, the withinness, the indwelling, the I that formed thee from the womb and girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Do you notice how this undoes anxiety? If the I is the life of you, you cannot be cut off from supply any more than a ray can be cut off from the sun that is its being. If the I is the wisdom of you, you cannot be finally confused. Clarity is native, and it will announce itself as you grow quiet enough to hear. If the I is the health of you, then life renews life by its own law, and we do not inform omniscience of symptoms. We behold the one who is too pure to behold iniquity. Appearances may clamor, but reality stands, and as sight is given, the clamor thins out like mist before the morning. Well then, the mind asks, how shall I live from here? Be very simple. Each time you find yourself tempted to reach outward in fear, turn inward in recognition. Whisper without ornament, I, not I need, not I want, I. Let that be the bell that calls you to the sanctuary within, for prayer begins as recognition that the I within is deity living as us. In that recognition, something wonderful occurs. Effort loosens its grip, and grace takes the field. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. He performeth that which is given me to do. So do not plan a campaign to become spiritual. Rest in the I that already is, God, God, God. Then let the silence be. Let your listening be your consent. You will discover that life moves not by your pushing, but by the gentle inevitability of grace flowing through recognized presence. And this will lead us, quite naturally, to see that law and cause and effort, as human mind conceives them, yield to a higher way, the way of grace that does the works, while we behold and abide. Now, because we have consented to the I within, let us see what follows as naturally as dawn after night. Grace takes the field, not effort improved, not belief intensified. Grace, the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus, hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Hear that. A higher law cancels a lower, not by argument, not by contest, but by simple presence. Light does not fight darkness. It appears, and darkness is not. Grace is that appearing God as the only power of the universe. Only power. I must say it plainly so the old habit can hear and release. Grace is a state that wipes out physical law, mental law, karmic causality. Not unlawfulness, but higher lawfulness. When the presence is recognized, the supposed chain of cause and effect, this did that, and so that must do, this loses its hypnotic authority. Ideas of heredity, momentum, penalty, reward, all the ledgers that the human mind keeps so carefully, they are not binding upon the soul. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from what? From the verdicts of the senses and the decrees of fear. In grace, that which seemed inevitable is not. That which seemed impossible does not need to become possible. It already is in God. Well, then, how does one enter that liberty? Not by managing outcomes, not by improving strategies, not by strengthening the will. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Therefore, retire from the post of universal manager. Lay down the badge. Come off the bench. Behold and consent. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Do you hear the instruction inside the poetry? Stand still. Behold. See. Be still and know that I am God. Not a greeting card phrase, but an operational directive. Be still and know is the way the valve is opened, the switch is thrown, the gate is lifted. The moment the mind ceases trying to push the river is discovered already moving. This is why we repeat, not superstitiously, but rhythmically, until the heart catches the tune. God, God, God. All power, all wisdom, all presence. Say it slowly. All power, all wisdom, all presence. Again. All power, all wisdom, all presence. Do you feel how those words unseat the little foreman in the head? The one pretending to run the cosmos with a clipboard? Let him go. Grace does not require your briefing. Grace requires your availability. Now, a word that will save you from 1,000 disappointments. Never look for results. The instant you look for results, you are back under law, measuring cause and effect, asking, has it happened yet? When will it happen? You have stepped out of the sanctuary and into the clock. In grace, there is no when, there is I am. Outcomes belong to grace, and grace appears as we rest. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. He performeth that which is given me to do. Who performeth? He. What is ours? Consent, beholding, silence. No agendas, no timetables. But won't nothing happen if I don't make it happen? That is the last superstition to fall. Something happens the way light happens when a shade is lifted, the way sap rises in spring without a committee. When you are still and know, the works are performed by what you have acknowledged, presence itself. Sometimes the scene changes, Sometimes the seer changes. In either case, the tyranny of cause and effect dissolves like mist. You discover that grace is not an event in time, but a state of awareness in which the eternal lives its own life as you. So, beloved, hand back tomorrow to God. Hand back the ledger, the plan, the anxious measuring. Sit a moment in the truth. God, the only power, only wisdom, only presence. Be still and know. Let that be your entire obedience. And you will find that prayer opens grace, and grace alone performs the works quietly, adequately, irresistibly, as the eye in the midst of you goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Since grace does the works and not our cleverness, we will have a way that makes room for grace. It is very simple. So simple the sophisticated mind misses it. Two parts. First, a few contemplative statements that lift awareness from problem to presence. Second, silence, listening, not for words, but for the hush of God that needs no syllables. That is all. Beholding is our method, listening is our consent to let God be God. Let us do the first part together, only a few breaths. Do not try to feel something. Do not reach for a sign. Just let the words be the lifting of a shade. Say within, God, God, God. All power, all wisdom, all presence. Again, softer, God, God, God. The Father within me, he doeth the works. I in the midst of me am mighty. I am that I am. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. God, the only power, only power, only power. Do you sense how the room changes when the name is honored? We are not persuading God. We are allowing awareness to rise to God. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Now the second part, let the words drop as a leaf drops into a stream and is gone. Be still. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. This is the listening attitude. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Do not listen for a sentence to be delivered to your ear. Listen the way a field listens for rain, open, unhurried, without forecast. 2 or 3 minutes will do to begin. Set a little watch if you must, so the mind is freed from the clock. Twice a day, perhaps 3, morning and evening and somewhere between. Not long, faithful, gentle. You are opening out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. There is a boundary at the door, and I beg you to keep it for your own peace. Leave your problem outside. Do not carry the patient and the condition into the sanctuary. Hang the concern on the nail by the threshold as you would a wet coat. If it knocks, and it will, do not argue with it. Do not fix it with holy words. Whisper, not now, and return for a moment to the simple statements, God, 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 only power. Then back into listening. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Never look for results in the silence. The instant you look, you have left the temple and are in the marketplace, bargaining. Stay within, consent, and let God be God. You may notice some days a soft click inside, as if a weight turned on a hidden hinge. Other days, stillness with no fireworks. Both are holy. Do not rate the silence. Do not grade the session. This is not calisthenics. This is resting in the eye that formed thee from the womb and girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing is God's gift. The stillness is your consent. After a week of this, 2 or 3 minutes, 2 or 3 times daily, you will find that the hour begins to seek you. You will be drawn to the chair, not by duty, but by sweetness. You will be, as our friends say, hooked, though on nothing earthly, hooked on the presence that feels like home. And as this becomes your way, you will discover that guidance rises of itself, not because you hunted it, but because you made room. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. We are not installing a new law, we are abiding in grace. Keep the practice simple. Brief beholding, then listening. Guard the door, expect nothing, and you will learn quietly and surely that the I in the midst of you is mighty, and he doeth the works while you rest by still waters. Now comes the quiet heart of it, the holy interval in which nothing is asked and everything is yielded. This is the silent segment. Here you adopt the posture that heals without touching and guides without planning. Be a beholder. No longer the operator, not the fixer, not even the petitioner, simply the witness to God. Drop the patient and the condition. Let the names, the symptoms, the deadlines fall off you as autumn leaves. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. In that temple, behold only God. God is too pure to behold iniquity. So become pure with him by refusing to behold it. Be still, be a witness to I. The Father within me, he doeth the works. In this stillness, there must be no bargaining. Not, if I am quiet, then you will do thus. Not, 3 minutes for a miracle. Refuse all commerce with the holy. Never check whether it is working. The instant you check, you step down into cause and effect and begin to weigh grace on a human scale. He that believeth shall not make haste. Belief that does not hasten does not measure. It rests. It lets I be I. When the mind leans forward to peek at outcomes, lean back into presence, whisper within, God, 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 and then no more words, only consent. You may notice, without seeking rare little mercies, the unforced breath, as if a band were loosened from the ribs, a soft click inward, a weight that does not belong to you sliding off the shoulders, sometimes a warmth, sometimes a tear that does not carry sorrow. These may come. If they come, do not chase them. Do not turn your silence into a net for butterflies. Let them light and leave without becoming your new agenda. The presence that gives the sign is the presence you are beholding. Keep your face in the light, not turned round to admire the glow upon your cheek. And if nothing seems to happen, no sign, no sense, only quiet, know that you have not failed. Seeds do not pop the hour we cover them with earth. So is the kingdom of God, as if a man should cast seed into the ground and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up. He knoweth not how. There it is. He knoweth not how. We are content to know not how. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. The seed is sown when the will is yielded and the mind refuses to traffic in results. He giveth his beloved sleep. The paradox that offends the busy mind is the very gate of peace. The less we do, the more the I does through us. Not passivity, but holy non-interference. It is no more I that live, but Christ liveth in me. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold your peace, beloved. That is your vocation in the silence. Hold it against the itch to manage, against the fear that whispers timelines, against the subtle vanity that would like to report a fine experience. Hold your peace, and the I in the midst of you will take its own forms, guidance, courage, laughter at the lion that was a shadow on the tent. But you will not look for those forms. You will not interrogate the dawn. You will be the field that receives the dew. So we sit not long, faithfully, and with a kindly discipline. Enter, lay the mind down, behold only God, listen without forecast, and leave without auditing, no souvenirs, no measurements, As a lamp left in a window draws the traveler home, though you do not watch the road, so your agenda-free silence signals to the imprisoned splendor a way out. It will come by its own law, in its own manner, as light comes when the shade is lifted. Be a beholder. Say within once at the door, God, God, God. Then hold your peace. Be still and know. And in that knowing which he gives, the works are performed while you remain as witness, content and unanxious, nearer than hands and feet to the one who is. Now in this hush, let us look at what we have for years called problems, not to pet them, not to wrestle them, but to see them in the light. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. If there is no darkness in him, there is no darkness in the reality of you, for in him we live and move and have our being. Hear Habakkuk's astonishment. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. If the holy cannot behold it, it has no place in the holy. Therefore, sin, disease, death, these are not substances in God. They are appearances, claims, suggestions, or temptations in human thought. Strong suggestions at times, yes. Insistent pictures, yes. But essence, no. They are as ropes mistaken for snakes at dusk, as pink elephants parading through the drunkard's mind, seen, feared, but not there. Isn't it curious how a shadow at the tent door becomes a lion until the lamp is lifted? The lion roars, the heart races, and then, with the smallest light, oh, only a coil of rope, and the heart laughs at its own theater. This is what spiritual sight does. As sight clarifies, problems thin out like mist before the sun, not by will, not by argument, but by light. The Master did not devote his hours to describing fevers. He said, Talitha Kumi, rise. He looked through, he beheld reality where others saw appearance. We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen, for the seen are temporal, the unseen eternal. Well then, the mind says, are you asking me to deny what I feel, what I see? No, we are not practitioners of denial. We are beholders of reality. We do not insult the senses. We outgrow their report by bringing in a higher witness. When a claim rises, pain in the body, fear in the ledger, shame over yesterday, do not fight the picture, do not analyze the serpent, lift the lamp, turn from picture to presence. Whisper, God, 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 all power, all wisdom, all presence. Be still and know. Hold to the eye in the midst of you that is mighty. Look past the screen until fear unwinds of itself as a knot loosens in warm water. You will feel it sometimes as a gentle melting, sometimes as the sudden irrelevance of what 5 minutes ago seemed sovereign. Let me give you a little window. A man awoke at 3 a.m. with the old spectre numbers marching across the mind, red ink, a creditor's voice. He nearly reached for the telephone, the calendar, the coffee. Instead, he sat in the chair we have been speaking of. 2 minutes. 3. No pleading. He looked past the figures to presence. God, God, God. The Father within me, he doeth the works. In the morning, walking into his office without the old ache in the gut, he opened a drawer he had not thought of in months and found a contract misfiled that settled a week's dread in 5 minutes. The miracle is not in the drawer, it is in the sight. Grace did not arrive. Grace was recognized. The rope ceased being a snake when light was brought. Sin, too, loosens in this light. The compulsion that walked you where you did not wish to go is not your essence. It is a suggestion believed. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not punish you into goodness, make you free by showing you your nature. No one is healed by concentrating on stain. God is too pure to behold iniquity, and you become pure with him by beholding only God until the suggestion falls away like a coat on a warm day. Death itself is named by the psalmist a shadow, not a substance. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. A shadow has form without content. Light dissolves it. This is not a license to be reckless with appearances. It is an invitation to refuse them authority. You will still cross the street at the proper time. Only now you are not ruled by the traffic. You will still keep the appointment. Only now the appointment serves grace, not fear. Sight informs action without asking, like a hand that knows to lift a cup without a meeting to discuss it. The inward beholding becomes your first act. The outer step simply follows, natural, unhurried. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Stayed sight, then simple doing. So, when the next rumor of snake hisses in your tent symptom summons sorrow, do not argue and do not bow. Lift the lamp, look through. God, 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 only power, only wisdom, only presence. Be a beholder until the image thins like mist before the sun. And as this becomes your habit, you will find yourself walking the day differently, less managed, more led, because the eye goes before you, and what once demanded panic now meets a gaze too bright for pretense. Now we take the next quiet step. We withdraw our faith and reliance from externals and rest it where it belongs, in the presence that abides. Security dawns the moment support moves from circumstances to the eye within. My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Here also the promise that has steadied saints and simple folk alike. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. The I in the midst of you goes before you. Not a philosophy, an actuality. God, the only power. Only power. Withdraw your reliance and rest. This is not a scolding of roads and schedules and instruments. It is a transfer of trust. We use the road. We use the schedule. We honor the instrument. We do not trust them. We trust I. Before you set a foot toward the door for a journey, train, plane, or that little commute you have driven 1,000 times, pause at the threshold. One breath. One recognition. I go before me. The Father within me. He doeth the works. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Then step out, not to manage traffic with your will, but to follow a path already made straight by presence. Watch how the day's knots untie themselves when you stop pulling the end. Meetings come. You know the kind, the table, the faces, the agenda humming like a hive. The old habit winds up, the stomach drafts speeches in the mind, polishes defenses. Stop. Withdraw your reliance from cleverness, from memory, from persuasive force. Sink back half an inch within and acknowledge, I in the midst of me am mighty. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Then say less than you would have said, and say it slower than you would have said it, and let the pauses belong to God. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. He shall, not you shall. He shall. God, the only power, the only wisdom. Do you see the relief in that? At the clinic or the doctor's door, the air is thick with timelines, numbers, the rustle of paper gowns, the flashing of screens. The senses rise in a chorus. Anticipate, prepare, fear. Let the chorus pass by. You will keep the appointment, yes, but hand the verdict back to grace. In the chair, feet in the stirrups of waiting, turn inward without strain, and confess softly, I. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I go not alone, I go as temple. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. You are not asking for a result, you are acknowledging a presence. The presence goes before you into the room, the chart, the words. Withdraw your reliance from outcome and rest in I. And as you rest, you will notice the body unbrace, the breath return to its own rhythm, and with it a wisdom that does not chatter. Hard conversations, too, the son you must correct, the friend you must confront, the apology you need to offer. The tongue wants to sprint, the heart forgets it has a home. Pause at the lip of speech. God, God, God. Only power, only love, only presence. Then be very still, even while your eyes are open. Listen for a half breath longer than is comfortable. Let the first word be given, not grabbed. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. You hold your peace. Let love speak what needs speaking in the way it knows. You are not performing goodness. You are letting goodness reveal itself as you. Do you see the simplicity? At each doorway, car door, office door, exam room door, heart's door, transfer, trust, acknowledge, and then act. Not a grand campaign, not heroic self-mastery, a whisper and a willingness. Take no thought for your life, said the Master, not negligence, dependence rightly placed. We are not reliant upon weather, traffic, opinion, prognosis, or even our perfected plans. We are reliant upon I. The I goes before you to make the crooked places straight. It also comes behind you as rear guard. Thou shalt go out with joy and be led forth with peace. Led, not driven. You may ask, how often must I do this? As often as fear rehearses. Let every rehearsal of dread be your cue to rehearse. Presence, the moment a what-if begins to sketch its shadow, refuse to furnish it a stage. Turn within. I, the Father within me, He doeth the works, be still 3 heartbeats, then move on the line of quiet, no looking for signs, no peeking at outcomes, God the only power, withdraw your reliance and rest, and so your way through the world is altered without fanfare. Doors open that needed opening. Some doors close that would have delayed you. Words arrive that you could not have drafted. Silences shelter what cannot yet be said. Not because you pushed, but because you yielded. Security is no longer in the thickness of the wallet, the precision of the map, the favor of the room. It is in the one nearer than hands and feet, speaking as I. With that, beloved, walk softly, unhurried, listening. The presence goes before you. He performeth that which is given you to do while you rest the weight of your life in Him. Now, because you have been faithful to behold and not to bargain, let us let grace speak in the only language it needs, its own proofs. Not to satisfy curiosity, to settle the heart in the way of trust. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Taste, see, experience, not argument. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes, not marvelous in our schemes. In our eyes, those eyes that have learned to behold. I remember an evening on the tarmac at Honolulu, a summer heat still in the concrete, the hum of engines like an argument in the air. Boarding had begun. The old habit would have hustled, checked the watch, calculated connections. Instead, a pause. Be still and know. Just that. God, God, God. I, in the midst of me, am mighty. And as if someone placed a hand upon the shoulder without words, wait. No reasons, no promise attached, only the hush that had become familiar in the chair. So I stepped aside. 10 minutes. 20. The board flickered. Returned a gate. Minor trouble, they said. No danger, but a change of aircraft. Did I plead for safety? No. Did I demand a sign? No. I beheld, and grace guided as quietly as a lamp shifting its light upon the path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The lamp did not argue with the dark. It simply showed the step. An earlier day, early in my practice, when the hands still trembled because the mind still believed it must accomplish something, a call came about a tooth-loose, throbbing appointment set to pull it in the morning. The voice on the line had that thin edge of fear, the temptation, of course, to gather scriptures like sandbags, to storm heaven with syllables. Instead, we did what you and I are learning. We hung the problem on the nail at the door. God, 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 only power. The Father within me, He doeth the works. And then we listened. No petition, no outline for deity, only beholding. The night went by as nights do when they belong to God, unremarkable on the surface, holy underneath. In the morning, the report came with a laugh that sounded like relief. It firmed. The dentist said, well, that's unexpected. He sent his word and healed them. Whose word? Not mine, his. Of mine own self I can do nothing. He performeth that which is given me to do. Our part was consent, not force. If you suppose this is the property of one scripture or one people, you have not yet seen the width of the river. Moses did not storm the bush with a shopping list. He turned aside to see. He beheld, and from the flame without smoke came the word that names itself, I am that I am. Presence guided a shepherd into the speech that undid an empire, not because he asked loudest, but because he listened deepest. Solomon, what did he seek when the Holy said, ask what I shall give thee? Not weapons, not riches, not a ledger of outcomes. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart. Understanding the hearing heart. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. And the wisdom that followed was grace's own proof. Our brother of another tongue, the Buddha, ceased his roaming and sat beneath a tree. He stopped begging reality to appear in his image, and in the silence of seeing as it is, the snakes and pink elephants of Mara's theater lost their contract. Whether you call it I am, wisdom, or suchness, the law is one, beheld, it acts. Do you hear the humility in all this? Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory. If a danger is averted, we do not become wizards. We remain witnesses. If a pain loosens its hold, we do not frame diplomas. We bow. We confess God, the only power. Only power. We do not advertise a method. We testify to a presence. We bear witness to the one nearer than hands and feet, who proves himself when we refrain from proving ourselves. Seal it in your heart with a simple question and its answer. Did we ask? No, we beheld. Did we bargain? No, we listened. And grace without trumpet, without timetable, performed the works. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it, beloved. Keep to the little rule we have learned. God, God, God. Then silence. Then the day. Look for nothing, demand nothing, and watch how the crooked places straighten as if they had always been straight, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. When we listen instead of beg, grace proves itself in guidance and in healing until the habit of fear finds nowhere to rehearse and the habit of beholding becomes your life. Begin tonight, not when the house is perfect, not when you feel worthy, not when life grants a Sabbath on the calendar. Tonight. The rule is simple, so simple you may be tempted to improve it. Do not. Morning and evening, and if grace nudges, add a noon pause. Once or twice becomes 3 times, and soon devotion becomes a joy your day leans on without your managing it. This is how habits of heaven take the place of habits of fear. Not by vow and trumpet, but by a small gate opened again and again. Here is the little template. Sit. Close the door of the senses as you would close a window against a draft. For 60 to 90 seconds, lift awareness with a few statements, not to persuade, but to remember, say within softly, God, 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 all power, all wisdom, all presence. I in the midst of me am mighty. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Be still and know that I am God. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Then let the word cease. For 60 to 120 seconds, listen. Do not listen for sentences. Listen for the hush that needs none. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. That is all. Keep the boundaries with kindness and firmness. Do not seek sign. Never look for results. Refuse the old commerce with the holy. No bargains, no clocks consulted for miracles. If you notice the mind leaning forward to check whether it is working, lean back into presence. Whisper once more, God, God, God. Only power. Then return to silence. Guard your gaze. Keep thy mind stayed on God. When stray needs crowd the door, hang them on the nail outside the sanctuary and let them wait in the hall. You are with I. Carry this beholding into ordinary things, for there are no ordinary things to the one who is. Walk as a beholder, work as a beholder, wash the dishes as a beholder of presence. Let the suds be a sacrament, the keys of your desk a liturgy, the sidewalk a psalm, before the call a breath, I before the reply a breath. God, God, God. When the kettle sings, let your heart answer with a still assurance, the Father within me, he doeth the works. Thus action becomes the overflow of beholding, not a substitute for it. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. He shall, you rest. Do not measure your progress. Do not collect holy moments as souvenirs. Some evenings the room will feel full of sunlight, others plain as bread. Bread is holy when given by God. Be faithful to the little rule and let grace handle the outcomes. Make beholding your only prayer. Let the eye live your life without your supervision. Take no thought. Not neglect, trust. Consider the lilies, said the Master, and we do. And we find ourselves cared for in ways the mind could not itemize. Now hear the benediction that has never grown old. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. The eye that breathed your first breath abides to breathe your last, and all the breaths between. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Go your way tonight and begin. 60 to 90 seconds of remembrance, 60 to 120 of listening, morning and evening. Add a noon pause when the sweetness calls. Expect nothing. Behold everything in God. And as you keep your mind stayed, you will discover that the crooked places straighten without your pulling, that guidance meets you like a friend at the corner, and that your days are quietly taken over by the one who saith, I in the midst of you am mighty. He performeth that which is given you to do, and you shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace.